Today we're literally playing around in the workshop because I built this Lego kit and I want to make a nice stand for it. And it turned out great. However, it did not come with a stand. And while you can pick it up, I find it a bit on the delicate side. I would rather just have it as a display piece, so I want a stand for it. So building a stand out of Lego isn't really that hard. However, I want to display the piece on an angle. I don't want to display it flat, and angles in Lego are a little bit trickier. I went into the kids' spare parts bin and I just knocked together this just to give myself some idea of measurements and a starting point. And it looks pretty good, but like I said, I want to have it displayed sort of at a 30-degree angle, kind of like this, and I think about 8 inches or so high. Having these bases gives me something to start with, and I can use this to take measurements on as I'm building it. Yeah, it's going to be a wooden base, but it will transition to a Lego brick at the top for actually clicking into place. Sorted through my offcuts and I found some cherry that I'm going to use. For the base, I'm going to rip these pieces to 1.25 inches wide by 5/8 of an inch thick. So I want one piece running down the center, and I'm going to make that, I'd say 14 inches long. And then I'll cut some cross pieces that I'm going to dado in here. And those, I'm thinking, probably 5 inches should be plenty. Now the space between these two uprights is important, and that is 8 1/8. After cutting the piece to length, I then used repeated shallow cuts on the table saw to nibble away and make a dado. Cut a dado on the table saw in the long piece, then I'm going to cut a matching slot in the cross piece so they will fit together like that. Little dab of glue in each joint, tap them home with the hammer. And I could just clamp them, but I want to keep going, so I'm going to pop in a little brad, or a pin I should say, on each side. That'll hold them tight and we can just continue onward. So the base is going to work like that. And then I'm going to take this piece and work on the uprights here. But first, a little bit of work on this still. On each of the ends, I want to put a nice chamfer on the end. And later I will put a round over just along the edge of that. Okay, with the base ready, I'll next take the upright piece and I'm going to cut 2 8-inch pieces out on the table saw. And then over on the miter saw, I will set it to 30 degrees and I'll cut the 2 top angles. Okay, slight change of plans. They were a bit tall, so I took 1.5 inches off both of them, and they are going to go like this. Now the trick is going to be attaching that to this. So there's probably many ways to do it. I'm going to sacrifice a couple of bricks and I want to attach those bricks to here, but I mean, I probably don't have perfect spacing like Lego, so I need them to be able to slide left and right. So I want to cut a notch in here for these bricks. I could probably do that on the bandsaw. I'm going to try it on the table saw. Let me show you what I got in mind. First, I set the blade height to be just about the same size as one brick. I also took the bricks and I placed them roughly where I want them on the piece, and I drew lines on either side so I knew where I need to notch it out. And finally, I took the 30-degree offcut from the miter saw and I attached it to this block of scrap here. And by sliding that, that gives me a way to position the piece that I want such that there's a perfect 90-degree angle over the blade. Then I will clamp this into the position, make my cut, move it over and proceed. And I'm also going to clamp the board because I don't want anything moving. So this might be tedious because I got a lot of cuts to make. And after I've got the first cut, I'm going to reposition this for the last cut, because the parts in between then I can work out easily. It's just the first and the last cuts are the important ones. That was awesome. So I've got my 2 pieces and I can fit bricks into them. They're not super snug. I wasn't trying for super snug. I just want something that will help the bricks stay in position, and then there's a bit of room left and right. So one will go here and one will go there. But just like with the base, I'm going to round over and sand it first before I put it together. You know, for a silly little project, this is really making me think a lot because I've got this base and I've got these two pieces and they need to be like perfectly parallel to each other on the base. So I cut this on the table saw to be perfectly about a little bit under 8 inches, so it fits right there. And I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to clamp them to this board so that they are forced parallel, and I'm also going to make sure they line up at the bottom. No, these are not lined up, so let's make sure everything is lined up. And laying them down so everything is parallel that way. Yep, now they're perfectly in line. Let's clamp that nice and tight. And take it over to the vise. And over at the vise, I will put this assembly in here. And I'm resting this board on the pole posts from the vise, so it's resting on it. Then I'm going to clamp it, make sure these are still lined up, snug it up, and now I can just pivot the clamp down. Now I'm going to place this on top, and really, if this were to be a little cockeyed, I'm exaggerating for illustration, it wouldn't really matter, because what matters is that these two pieces are parallel and the exact same. I'm going to put a dab of glue down and then I'm going to place this into position. And yes, I'm just eyeballing it and using my fingers, of course. Then I'm going to put in a couple of pin nails to hold it. And with the pin nails in there, I'm pretty sure it's not going to move now. So I'm going to now take my drill and countersink bit, and I'm going to put in a screw into each post, which will hold it nice and tight. Just going to put 1.25 inch screw into each upright, and that should hold it nice and strong. I put some tape in the notches because I need to be able to get some glue in there later, and I'm going to take this out into the garage and hit it with some lacquer, and then we'll come back and continue. And then here it is with a quick coat of lacquer, and let's get that tape out of there. And so the final step is to get these little bricks in place, which I will be using the model to mount on. And again, these need to be positioned this way correctly. And as I said earlier, this is a little bit delicate, so I'm just going to reach in and I'm just going to quickly whip up a little Lego stand-in for that spacing so that I can then position these bricks in the right spot. Don't care about color at this point, just length. And this appears to be the right length. It completely straddles that. So we're going to use this to position the two Lego pieces that I'm going to be gluing into the stand. So these are the two black bricks that are going to be installed permanently. This is my spacing jig, and these fit in here. You could use super glue maybe. You could maybe even try screwing it right in through the brick, but I'm not sure about the tolerances there. And as an experiment, I tried a screw where I would put a countersink in, but even with a number 6 screw, it's really hard to the brick doesn't lock in place anymore. It's just too high, and when I pull it down tighter, then it actually distorts the brick. So I think glue is the way to go. Just a little 5-minute epoxy. I'm not sure. I thought about super glue, CA glue, but I think there's just too much of a gap. Put that on there and wipe it along the back also. Okay, here we go. Get some tape. It wants to lean a bit. There we go. Okay, I've given it a half an hour. There's still a little bit of stickiness to it. Really needs to cure overnight, I think, but it is firm enough, I think. There we go. All right, permanent mounts. Here's the front. Oh! There we go. All right, let me get these pieces back on that fell off. That is what I had in mind. A nice, simple, elegant stand holding the model at an angle. Okay guys, that's it. I got my big Star Wars model mounted on this nice stand. A lot of different techniques I had to do. This has been an odd project, but thanks for stopping by. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you on the next one.